Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really happy to be here, and after this very demanding lecture I will entertain you a bit with maybe a not so common tree-related problem, and that's mistletoe or kinds of mistletoe on our trees. I'll try to share with you our experience with that plant, our experience with how to monitor it, and maybe a bit how to deal with that if possible. You definitely noticed kinds of mistletoe in crowns of trees. There are shrubs which are described like half parasite, which means that these shrubs take the water from the host and do their own photosynthesis. This marriage, it's not too beneficial for the host because just one figure that the oldest mistletoe which was counted yearings on was 40 years old, and you can imagine that most probably the host would like to live longer. Even if it's half parasitic strategy, most probably we can say that it's not always too happy with that. I would like to ask you a question. Are there people here who like the mistletoe or love the mistletoe, Asterix, Obelix, Christmas? So some of those are here. Are there people on the opposite side who has fear of mistletoe? Nightmares? No. Okay, I'll do something throughout my lecture to change the balance here, because in certain areas of our country we really have long-term real problems, and these problems are extending, and plus minus we don't know why. It's now using more host-like species. For example, for quite a long time the Populus nigra was considered to be immune for the mistletoe, but just a month ago I was in Austria, and these Populus nigra italica were normally colonized by mistletoe. So you can really consider this problem to be occurring, and maybe it's a good idea to know about it more before it comes in full strength, because then we probably could have some solutions. First of all, a bit differentiating of the kinds of mistletoe in the crowns. You know very well that there is one specific species, Loranthus europaeus, which is on oak trees, which is not evergreen, so it loses leaves for winters, and it's different kind, let's say, of mistletoe. Otherwise, maybe there are people here from maybe around the world, so you know very well that you can encounter lots of species of mistletoe around the globe. If we speak about the real mistletoe, the genus Viscum, we have three subspecies, and it's pretty important to differentiate them. First is the cultivar or the subspecies Abietis on tannen. Second is on pine trees, and these two, even if within certain areas for forestry they are considered to be a problem, there is no data about their quick spreading or real problems especially for arboriculture. The most problematic one is last one, the subspecies album, which is on trees, on normal trees, on a large variety of trees, and this one is the problematic one from our perspective. I've prepared for you a short video just to show you the different or different kinds of this shrub. By the way, if you are interested in those videos, you can download them on our YouTube channel later if you want to refer to them. So here you see the Loranthus europaeus. It's strictly bind on oak trees. By the way, oak is one of these immune species, and if you see Viscum album on oak, it's mostly the case, or it's rare, but it happens, that the Viscum album is colonizing the Loranthus. So the Loranthus is the first mistletoe, and the Viscum is on that, not directly on the oak. Here you have the problematic one, and you see that the extent can be really dramatic, and we have lots of cases when we lose trees, and the worst scenario is that we lose veteran trees, which you know very well that this is impossible or irreplaceable. In certain areas, the pinus trees, as you maybe noticed, can die pretty quickly after the attack. But well, these trees are not generally growing in the big clusters in cities, so we don't have really many experience with dealing with this subspecies. And the Abies, Abietis. And again, due to a lack of, let's say, monocultures or thick growth of Abies trees in cities, we generally don't have problem with that. So we noticed that during our practice, quite a large spread of mistletoe was recorded. Originally, it was a problem maybe in pretty small area in this part of our country, but most probably due to climatic changes, the mistletoe spreads last year very quickly, and from small clusters it really can colonize large areas. There are many theories about how and why this could hold true, but frankly none of those theories explain everything. We were not successful in asking for grant on this matter, but we have a suspicion that we deal with different kind of mistletoe, that there is some genetic shift, because the strategy of colonization is really different. If you see these generally available databases where mistletoe was noticed, you see that this is problem for, at least for the whole of Europe, so most probably you know that problem as well. I will tell you something about our methodology, how we take data about the spread and level of colonization of the mistletoe. If you like Czech language, you can purchase this book where we describe detail. When we take data about the mistletoe extent, we need to do two kinds, let's say, of data. One is about level of colonization, and the other complementary data is about the vitality of the host, because from these two information you then can draw some proposal or some possible way of fighting the problem. We took a methodology which is used for description of associated organisms, so we use the same approach, where we've got 5 levels. This is a starting level, occasional, where we speak maximum about 10% of the crown volume being colonized. Frequent is somewhere around 30%. Abundant is already 50%, and the mistletoe colonizes the principal branches. So this level is already not possible to be solved by solely by tree pruning, because then you would remove large parts of the crown. And of course, the dominant means that the level of mistletoe colonization is over 50% of the leaf apparatus of the host. So this is the, let's say, way how we describe the extent of the mistletoe, and obviously you can see that this kind of estimate can be done only in the winter time. The value is the vitality of the host, where we use very similar method like you use by the Roloff scale, added the 5th level, which is that tree. So you are familiar with this approach. And this kind of data can help you in, let's say, choosing the proper method of mistletoe removal or suppression, let's say. There is, you see that quite a big part of the table is dedicated to tree felling, but consider that the 5 means that tree, which is most probably would be felled anyways. So there is an area where most probably to remove the shrubs, if possible. Let's say up to the 10%, it's the reasonable approach. But with the tree pruning, we've got the problem that we at the same moment the assimilation apparatus of the host. So most probably we are not able to repeat the measure. So you can't 3 times prune the tree when the mistletoe comes up again. Plus, obviously, even the reaction ability of the limited by its decreasing vitality. For the usage of the, because we are speaking now about big data, we need to take this in account in the normal tree cadastre. So we use the system which enables to collect the data in large scale. And don't forget, because I have seen here a few hands of people who like the mistletoe, that mistletoe is not just the bad guy. The mistletoe is the microhabitat as well, and it's part of the ecological or biodiversity features as well. So you can differentiate the parts of the crown into sections and take in account the mistletoe as well as the associated organism, say the problem, and the microhabitat at the same moment. From our database, we've got at this moment something like 1.9 million trees, individually assessed trees within our system. And just take into account that this is full country, this is the full extent. And 3% of those trees have some level of colonization of the mistletoe, which is really huge number. Shows that the problem is real and it needs some solutions. So as I told you before, we've got in principle 3 ways how to deal with that. Either prune the mistletoe out, or of course lose the tree altogether. And we try, because of, let's say, limits of these 2 solutions, we tried in the year 2015 to create some, let's say, new, less harmful method, which is the phytohormone therapy, which you can get more information about in the yearbook. So how does look like the solution for the tree using the tree pruning system? Before, obviously, you are removing parts of the crown, parts of the leaves of the tree. On the other hand, you can be very, very sensitive, and maybe important thing to say now, you definitely need to remove the full branch, because the mistletoe creates the haustoria, the roots really, and plus minus they are inside the crown canopy, if I can name it like that, of the shrub. So you need to remove the full branch under the shrub. If you only remove the above ground part, the rejuvenation is very, very quick. It's within next year, not the same extent, but pretty similar. But even that could make sense in certain cases, because the mistletoe creates the fruits only the 4th on, so you can at least diminish the pressure, let's say, of the shrub on adjacent trees. But anyway, this is something which is pretty very, very time consuming. You see these big balls in the crown, but be sure that small starting seedlings of the mistletoe everywhere in the crown. So it's really very tedious and very, very problematic event. There were some trials to extend possibilities of tree pruning by covering the branches by the black foil, just to prevent the mistletoe to rejuvenate. But you can imagine that this is even more tedious, and then, of course, this foil disintegrates, so you've got lots of mess around the trees, and it's very, very problematic to be used, even if the logic is pretty sound. Sometimes the results of the tree pruning are fine, so here you see a tree after some treatment, after years, and it was present. Here you see tree before treatment, after treatment by pruning, directly after the treatment, and this is 3 years after. So you see that even if the first results were very positive, rejuvenation is pretty quick, and then you are lost because you can't repeat the same treatment, you can't prune the tree again, because then you would probably end up with something like felling the tree, which obviously you can, but then you lose the tree with the mistletoe. So our approach was, we took, let's say, information from around the world about different approaches to this problem, and we found a composure which is called cerone. The working substance is etaphon, and this is the ethylene precursor. If you remember your physiology classes, ethylene is one of the phytohormones, and it's a very interesting phytohormone because it's gaseous. It goes very quickly throughout the tissues of the tree, sends information, and mostly it's connected with the damage. With it's phytohormone which deals mostly with information about some problem in the tree. And this therapy is able to disintegrate the shrub. So not only it loses leaves, but completely the above ground part can disintegrate. And it does not have any influence on the host tree because we during the dormant period. So logically, this can be used only for the family Viscum because it's evergreen. We can't use it. I'll just show you how it looks like the application. It's pretty problematic because you need to really spray very thoroughly every leaf, really, to be able to get the result which you expect. So at this moment we work only from the platforms. It's impossible to do by tree climbing methods because you would be just covered with that and carry this equipment. It's almost impossible. You see the small shrubs, you see them? Yeah, so this is just for you to take the information. If you look from the ground on the tree, you think, okay, there are 6 or 20 shrubs, but there are hundreds of those small seedlings or small shrubs in reality. So with the hose, you need to really specifically spray every shrub to be sure that you did all the work properly. We use the green color into this solution, which is not visible from anywhere, but the operator can then be sure that he didn't miss any shrub in the crown. So this is one of our first trials when we did this treatment, and the mistletoe really was disintegrating very quickly. Sometimes we've got very good results, and at one spot we did quite a lot of trees, and the tree manager was very cross with us because after a week it was just covered, the ground was covered, the mistletoe remnants. So the result can be very quick, and sometimes it's very convincing. On the other hand, the important part is that we are not removing the mistletoe. We are just, changing its phytohormonal control. So the rejuvenation can happen, and quite often happens. But the strong point of this solution is that it is repeatable. You don't inflict the host, so you can repeat it after 2 years or something and get, let's say, better results afterwards. We monitor for last 4 years. We do something per several hundred trees per year. It's nothing massive, but we repeat the monitoring, and on few sites we already repeated the application of the cerone, and it works pretty well. It works very well with small trees where you don't need the platform to approach the crown. trees up to, let's say, 6-10 meters can be sorted out very, very nicely. Here you see the details of the rejuvenation of the new shoots from the hostoria, which is intact, but giving the host time to rejuvenate even for its apparatus, for its leaves, means the new shrubs of mistletoe are inside the crown, so they have a lower approach to light, and maybe we hope that this can just change the balance, and the rejuvenation will, even if it occurs, it will be not that dynamic. Here you see a few cases. Was not convincing. As I told you, the application is not, for example, if it rains or if it's frost, or these meteorological conditions are not favorable. We really encountered that the Serena is not able to penetrate the tissues, and the result then is not that convincing. Obviously, you understand that to apply this period means throughout the period when these non-favorable meteorological conditions are prevailing. So we still look for the possibility to, let's say, improve or extend the season for this kind of treatment. Sometimes with a really high level of colonization, after the first application, only, let's say, lowering of the volume of the mistletoe. But again, we can repeat it, we can add on another application and get the result we would expect, which we are really happy with. This is the most important difference from the pruning. Obviously, the pruning with the application of the phytohormone can be combined if necessary, so you can just devise your own method there. This is the case where the application was combined with the tree pruning. Sometimes we've got pretty convincing outputs just from the first application, and after a few weeks you are not able to find any mistletoe in the grounds. So we strongly hope that this approach is something which is, let's say, valid addition to the toolbox of the arborist. Maybe main information, and this is I would like to go away with. Start solving this problem when it's not yet the catastrophe. Because obviously if we then speak about hectares of mistletoe, which unfortunately is sometimes true in parts of our country, and it spreads outside of the cities, outside of the parks, we have parks really destroyed by mistletoe because the old trees just are gone. And then, of course, the pressure of the plant, of the shrub, is so high that plus minus no solution is possible. So, as I told you before, we have few problems with the application or with this approach. The shrubs can do regenerate, but again, as I told you before, the years to start to produce fruits again. So that means that even if we reduce the contemporary volume of the mistletoe in the crown, we achieve at least the fact that after these within these 4 years, the birds are not able to spread the mistletoe on other trees. So at least the pressure of the agent is lower. We try to find out more space, let's say, for the application. The idea is to start apply this treatment not in the dormant period, but in the pre-dormant period, which means with September maybe, because then the host already is in this pre-dormant phase. It does not need too much its leaves anymore. We are still not sure with the consequences, so we just did it on few trees to check the reaction, because at that time the buds are being created, so we don't want to disturb the host with this phytohormonal disbalance. But most probably this is one way how to extend the period for the application. And obviously one of the biggest problems in practice is that not all trees which are colonized by mistletoe are accessible to the working platform. So even if there are obviously lots of platforms now which can be used in many scenarios, we try, or we hope that it will be able to use some different kinds of application tools. Not probably from the ground, because even if it's not pesticide, it's just phytohormone, but it is chemical mean. We just can't spray the tree in big amounts, and obviously it's about slightly about the price of the stuff, etc. But here is large for new solutions. And we definitely aim for some research in that, and this is maybe another point I would like to share with you and to offer on the let's say management of the mistletoe. First is the suspicion which I shared with you already, that we deal with different kind of mistletoe, that maybe new subspecies happened and it's now and we were not yet some partner who would get support for research on that topic. So this is maybe something you can start in your countries and bring more experience in that kind. So this is everything from me. If you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them if I can. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for